Good morning, everyone. As some of you may know, NCLR is the largest Hispanic civil rights and advocacy organization in the country. We were founded in 1968 and are now celebrating our 40th anniversary. We are an American institution whose mission is to create opportunities for the 45 million Hispanics in the U.S. We represent nearly 300 affiliates, which are community-based service organizations that provide education, healthcare, housing, and economic empowerment opportunities. The reason I'm before you today is to talk about a very important issue affecting our community. We are currently confronting a very negative environment due in large part to the failure of the President and Congress to address the immigration issue. The result is a new strain of hate that has found a new home. This hate is open and ugly, and it demonizes all Latinos in the emerging debate on immigration. The reason we're here today is because hate groups and extremists have taken over the immigration debate and created an unprecedented wave of hate. Hate groups and extremists no longer occupy the fringe in American politics. Their rhetoric has been adopted by many in the mainstream media. Their policy positions frame the political discourse, and their people are too often welcomed by the media and presidential candidates. Let me be specific, and I'd like to offer at least 3 examples, but there are more. Dan Stein of the Federation for American Immigration Reform. According to the Southern Poverty Law Center, FAIR, as it is referred to, is the creation of John Tanton, a man who remains on FAIR's board and operates a racist publishing company. Tanton once compared immigrants to bacteria. FAIR has employed members of white supremacist groups in key positions. FAIR has promoted racist conspiracy theories, and FAIR has accepted more than $1 million from the Pioneer Fund, a racist foundation devoted to eugenics and proving a connection between race and IQ. Another example, Chris Simcox, co-founder of the Minutemen. According to the Southern Poverty Law Center, Simcox was convicted in 2003 of carrying a weapon into a national park while searching for undocumented immigrants. That year, he was quoted by an Orange County newspaper saying, "So far we've had restraint, but I'm afraid that restraint is wearing thin. Take heed of our weapons because we're going to defend our borders by any means necessary." Another example, Jim Gilchrist, a co-founder of the Minutemen, was videotaped at an anti-immigration rally proclaiming proudly, "I'm proud to be a vigilante." These 3 people have been on national cable network television at least 110 times over the past 3 years. That doesn't count print, that doesn't count radio, and that doesn't count local television. Rarely is their status as a hate or vigilante group acknowledged or challenged. Typically, they are offered a cloak of respectability as anti-immigrant spokespeople or labeled as neighborhood watch program representatives. Rarely do they face opposition from the opposing side. You know, let me just say something about that immigration debate. It is a serious issue, and it requires a serious discussion. We welcome that debate at NCLR. We share many of the concerns that Americans have about our broken immigration system, including the need to secure our borders. And let me be clear, most Americans who are concerned about our borders do not carry or harbor extremist views. This surge of hate is being driven by a relatively small but vocal and extreme segment of our society. And this debate has moved from Congress to the states and now to the presidential debates. The fury has been intense and it has continued, and it has become more recognizable. This debate is no longer about substantive policy approaches. This debate is now about hate. And if letting these people get on the air unchecked and unfiltered wasn't bad enough, many of the network talk show hosts themselves parrot hate speech openly and abundantly on the air. Again, I offer 3 examples, there are more. CNN's Lou Dobbs, who nightly provides a platform for vilifying immigrants on his Broken Border segment, has said, "I support the Minutemen Project and the fine Americans who make it up in all they've accomplished fully, relentlessly, and proudly." On his program on April 14th, 2005, Dobbs reported that the invasion of illegal aliens is threatening the health of many Americans. He introduced correspondent Christine Romans, who grossly inflated statistics regarding immigrants and leprosy, citing there have been 7,000 cases in the past 3 years. Well, the truth is, there have been 7,000 cases in the past 30 years, and there's been no correlation to immigrants, according to the Department of Health and Human Services. Despite being corrected, Dobbs has continued to stand by his reporting, and we must hold him more accountable. MSNBC, an on-air commentator, Pat Buchanan, last year published a book, and this summer it was called The Day of Reckoning, and he used the cable networks to promote his book. He got a free ride from the cable news media to go on a hateful tirade about immigration. In November on Hannity and Combs, Buchanan said, quote, "You've got a wholesale invasion, the greatest invasion in human history coming across your southern border, changing the composition and character of your country." You know, when I hear that, and I hear Pat Buchanan talk about an invasion across the southern border, he's not just referring in his book or when he's talking about that to newcomers. He's referring to first, second, third, fourth generation Americans. He's talking about me. And yet, when you ask Pat Buchanan about white European immigrants, he has a completely different view. And we want to make sure that, you know, Pat can write however many books he wants. Feel free to sell them. But you know what? He should not have access to the public airwaves to put his hateful tirade about immigrants on television. We can't have that kind of language go unfiltered and unchecked any longer. On June 28th, another example, CNN's Glenn Beck jokingly offered a one-stop solution to the immigration and energy crisis on his radio program. He read a proposed ad for a giant refinery that produces Mexinol, a fuel made from the bodies of illegal immigrants coming here from Mexico to find work. He thought it was funny. To a Latino, this is appalling and offensive, but it shouldn't be offensive just to us. This should offend everyone. This type of language is not consistent with our American values and ideals. And these examples are far from being alone. You've got Bill O'Reilly, Michelle Malkin, Hannity and Combs, who are piling on and joining in the nightly harangue. It's no wonder that presidential and congressional candidates have leapt on the bandwagon. Suddenly, the immigration threat has eclipsed Iraq, Pakistan, healthcare, and the economy over the past 4 months of the debate. Ads reminiscent of the 1988 Willie Horton ad, which denigrated the African American community, have already been run by Tam Tancredo, too, to demonize Latinos. They depict all Latinos as criminals, all Latinos as rapists, all Latinos as gang members and terrorists. Mike Huckabee accepted the endorsement of Jim Gilchrist and called it providential. All of this is clearly over the line. As a civil rights organization, we understand how difficult it is to draw a line on free speech. But when free speech is abused and transformed into hate speech, a line must be drawn. It's time to take hate out of the immigration debate.